Well, it was on.
You need to get. Okay. Welcome, everybody. I hope you're all having a good day. Very quickly, because I want to give her maximum time to talk to her, tell her fascinating story, I'm going to introduce my friend and colleague from WCN, Colleen Begg, who many of you may know from previous expos. She and her husband Keith are from South Africa and actually started their wildlife careers studying honey badgers, which people said nobody could study. They figured out how to do it. And you know that really funny video that went around, honey badgers don't care? That's actually based on their video footage that they took of honey badgers. And in 2003, they branched out from the comedy world into conservation of lions in a fantastic area of Mozambique, Niassa, and also other carnivores there. So please welcome Colleen Begg from the Niassa Alliance.
Good morning, everybody. It's always a pleasure to be here. And I know that many people come up to me and say that they get inspired by what we do, but I think that what you forget is that I get inspired by you. And sometimes I need a little bit of a perspective after what's going on in the bush. So thank you for coming today, because it really helps us. And I appreciate you all very much, and I think you may not appreciate how important your contribution is to what we do. And sometimes there is a quiet joy in just being with a lion, hearing a lion at night, or just being in their presence. And I have to admit something to you, that strangely, I haven't seen a lion this year. And that's not because our conservation is not doing well, it's because I spend most of my time with people. And as we talk about this journey that I'm on with my husband Keith and our amazing team in the bush, that is really the theme of what I have to say. The lion that you just saw there sleeping, his name was Kampu, and he's 3 years old. He was 3 years old in that picture, and he was the first lion that we ever collared. We had a vet coming up from South Africa to teach us how to do it, and we collared him, and he's still alive today. This is him 13 years later. And what's wonderful about this story, this one individual lion, is that he made it through running the gauntlet of the snaring and the sport hunting and the conflict with the communities. And this lion is still there and is really a poster lion for our project. But unfortunately, most lions don't make it to old age, either naturally because there's a lot of fighting in the between lions who take over prides, but also because there are so many threats. And there are only less than 30,000 lions left in the world today. This map is out of date, but it's really there just to show you what has happened to lion range. And in many of those areas, there are very few lions left today. Now, I am extraordinarily privileged, and many of you have seen this slide before, but extraordinarily privileged to live in one of the most special and beautiful wilderness areas left in the world. This is Niassa National Reserve. It's 16,000 square miles on the eastern side of Mozambique on the border with Tanzania. And this place, which is run in a co-management agreement between Wildlife Conservation Society and the government of Mozambique, is the kind of place that we need for lions to roam. These are the large wilderness areas where we are going to protect lions. And that's not to say that all the other lion populations aren't important, but if we can't save them in a wilderness like this, then we will lose them everywhere. Now, Mozambique has a very complicated history, and in 1994, when peace was declared, it was the poorest country in the world, and it has substantial growth at the moment. But once it became independent, there was an 80% illiteracy. And now things have changed dramatically in the last 13 years that I have been in Mozambique, with cell phone towers going up. People have got motorbikes. We've just done a lion survey across the whole of Niassa. And many of the places where it was just wilderness, you now hear motorbikes going up and down the roads during the night. There is huge issues with logging, particularly in the northeastern section of Niassa. The Chinese loggers have been in there, are hauling out big trucks, and there's huge habitat destruction across the protected area. Now, most recently, gold has been found in Niassa, and hundreds of people are pouring into Niassa for the dream of being able to make a living from the gold. They're not just Mozambicans, they're coming from Tanzania, Zimbabwe, Somalia, and our scouts confiscate this amount of mining equipment almost every month. trying to get a handle on what's going on. And unfortunately, they're also using mercury to extract the gold. But still, the most severe threat for lions in Niassa is bushmeat snaring. So people need wild meat to be able to eat, and so they set these snares. And this not only catches the prey of the lions, but also sometimes catches the lions themselves. Now, every November, just when I get home, we have this mad rush to get ready. We have the Lion Fun Days, and it's 2 days of fun and games with a conservation message for 350 children from the local villages. And what we found works very well is the children, for 1 day a year, paint pictures on this white cloth, and then our staff in the local languages talk about these issues. Last year, we presented the story of a poacher who goes out to set his bushmeat snares, and a lion walks into the snares. When the poacher goes up to the snares to see if he's caught anything, the lion attacks the man, and the man is killed. And the question for the community is, whose fault is it? Is this a problem lion, or is this a problem person? And unfortunately, sometimes our messages come a little bit close to home. This is Eusebio Malunda, who is our cook at our environmental center. And just 3 weeks ago, his son was killed by a lion in Niassa. His son is an adult, but was living in a village called Negomano, up on the northeastern side, inside the protected area. And because of an emerging threat for the lion bone trade, where they are offering $1,500 for a carcass of a lion, he had gone out to kill the lion and had been killed. These are very difficult stories to be able to negotiate in the communities, because it's not just about lions. It's about poverty and having no other alternative livelihoods. And just yesterday, I received a call, an email, to say that 4 lions have been found dead in a similar area. This is also part of the lion bone trade, and Keith has gone up there in the plane just this morning to find out what has been going on there. So this is an emerging threat. It's a very scary one for us because it's focused on the lions. And these bones are all shipped out to China and other places and could be a very serious threat to the lions all over Africa. I really like this quote. I actually was staying in the Cardinal Hotel for this week of workshops with WCN, and I'm walking along the street and was on a shop window. Any useful statement of the future should at first seem ridiculous. I think that's great. Keith and I have never been people to follow the rules, and people told us we couldn't study honey badgers, and particularly when people tell us we can't do something, it makes us even more determined. And the thing that seems ridiculous is having 40,000, growing population of 40,000 people living in a protected area. And you can either see this as a problem, or you can see it as a solution. And I believe that these people, these 40,000 people, are the solution to lion conservation in Niassa. And it is going to take us all working together, because it's not only the local people, it's the district officials and the national government and other lion researchers and big NGOs. We have to all collaborate if we are going to be able to get this right. Because really, lion conservation is not about individual lions. It's not about named lions. It is about the wilderness in which they live. Now, this particular lion, I do know him, and I can identify him because every time I see him, he does this with his paws. That's just what he does. But there are many lions out there that we don't know, and many lions with particular characteristics that we don't know, and those lions are just as important. And if we protect the wilderness, and this is Niassa, just after the rains, which fills up these pools, if we protect the wilderness, then we do more than just protect the lions. We also protect all the other animals that are there as well, from the big charismatic ones like the elephants, as well as just smaller ones. And this is a honey guide. And one of the most important relationships between people and animals is between this tiny little bird and people. This is Orlando, who works with us. We now have a professor from Cambridge who's working on investigating the relationship between the honey guide that leads people to find honey in Niassa. If we lose all these creatures, we not only lose all the biological diversity, we lose this cultural diversity too. And we lose all these interactions that we have with animals on a daily basis. And all of that is important. So our vision is a wilderness where lions thrive, lions and all other animals, with the full participation of Niassa's local people. And a vision is something that seems ridiculous, but I think that we are slowly getting there. We have a very long view. So I hope to be there for the rest of my working life and hopefully beyond, living in my tent in Niassa. At the moment, we've got 25-year goals. We're not going anywhere, so there's plenty of time for you all to visit. We have 3 main goals. The one is to directly look at the threats to lions and to reduce them. The second is to develop an environmental education and skills training program that includes all the local people in what we're doing and to teach them what we have learned. And the third is to develop a model of engagement with communities that works. When we started, it was Keith and I and Oshko and Jomba. Those 2 still work for us. They've been working with us from the beginning. We now have a permanent staff of 44 people. And we have 26 that are working for us part-time, our wildlife guardians, and we have 120 people that work on conservation services like opening roads, thatching grass during the dry season. This is because employment is the most important and most significant benefit that you can give people when they are living in communities in a place like this. We have the most incredible team, and I've said it before, that I am here representing them. While I'm here, they are working very hard to continue with the conservation. Agostino Jorge is our conservation manager, Mbumba is our community manager, and Andrew is our education manager. And my husband Keith and I started this program and continue to work up there with our 3 small children. Everybody on our team is important, from the mechanic to the cook to the young man, Swedi, who washes the dishes at the environmental center. Everybody knows the vision, and everybody is part of this. We still live in a very simple camp. It hasn't changed. In all the time they were there, people keep asking me why we don't build a house. I have no intention of building a house. I love our camp, and the place that I sleep best is on a bamboo deck under the tree, just in the Mozzie Dome. That's when Ella was small. She's now 8 years old. We're in a very remote area. It always gives me pleasure when I drive to the environmental center in the day that I get to drive through the bush. There's no cement. It's completely wild. And one day when we leave, there will be no sign that we are there. Many of you have shown me that you follow me on Facebook. I'm always wondering if lots of people are out there. I write Facebook every day. I tell you what's going on, and that's where I'm doing it from. So it's from my desk. It's all run through VSAT. It's run through solar power. Sometimes we have elephants coming to tea. And I'll tell you about it. Now, last year when I was here, when I gave the talk, where I went to an event just after this talk, and an incredible thing happened. Someone asked me what we needed most, and I said we need a plane. And before 10 days were up, we had the money for a plane. And I can honestly say that it's changed our lives up there. First of all, it allows us to have some security in case we need to Kazavac someone out. Second of all, we can collect our salaries for all our staff because they have to be paid in cash, and it was getting extremely dangerous to track all the salaries in. We can do all the radio tracking for our lions, and that helps us in anti-poaching. So you all make a difference, and sometimes the differences are big, and sometimes they are small. Keith's got his pilot's license, and it is amazing how we are now able to scale up. Ezebio, who is our lion tracker, who used to be a lion poacher, and has now been working with us for 10 years this year, has now been learning to radio track from the air. He has incredibly good eyesight, so he is the best person to have in the air with you. We have 20 anti-poaching scouts who look after an area where we are developing our community model, and they are the ones that are looking after all the elephants and everything else and the lions that are there. They work very hard, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, that these are the heroes of conservation. Not me, these are the heroes. It is very difficult work, and it's also very dangerous. They're going up against poachers with AK-47. They are only armed with shotguns because that's all we're allowed to do, and they are incredible. At the moment, we're looking for 8 new anti-poaching scouts. While I'm here, Keith and Agostino are doing a selection. We have another, I think, 28 young men have just arrived, all wanting to be scouts. 8 of them will be chosen. Obviously, we look for fitness. We look for leadership. We also look for enthusiasm. We look for honesty. And we hire people on personality because we can teach the rest. They've been very successful. We managed to catch 3 suspected elephant poachers last year. We recovered more than 150 rounds of ammunition. We've been able to withdraw, we take out all the snares and a number of bushmeat poachers. We do this in collaboration with the reserve and with other tourism operators around the area. One of the most amazing things is none of our scouts really have more than 4 years of education, but we've managed to teach them all to put the information onto a digital device. It means we can track exactly where they go and exactly what's happening to them. This is very important because it's no good just having anti-poaching scouts if you can't tell how much of the area that you're covering, how far are they walking. The scouts can compete against each other, and this has been an incredible, and we are the first site in Mozambique to have SMART. Some of you might know what SMART is. It's a software program that allows you to analyze what your anti-poaching scouts are, and we've been able to do that with our scouts. And whenever we catch a suspected poacher, there is always this feeling that he is just a person like me and you or someone from the village. And it never fails to amaze me how it just brings it home that this is about working with the communities and one by one changing people to realize that the wildlife is their future and the wildlife is the way that they are going to have a future in Niassa, because these people aren't any different from the people I interact with every day. And I wonder often if that we were in the same situation, we would not be doing the same thing. So I think we need to be very careful when we talk about these people need to be killed or shot or put into jail, as we often get as Facebook comments, because it's not that simple. Many people rely on bushmeat for the meat. That's how they're getting protein. They use the natural resources. And if we are going to do anti-poaching, then we also need to provide them with an alternative to that kind of protein. And so Agostinho started 2.5 years ago the livestock breeding programs that mainly breed rabbits and ducks, but we have guinea fowl, guinea pigs, and doves as well. And these programs have been amazingly successful. They're now in 80 households. Not a single one of those households had ever earned an income before. People have started to sell their livestock, they're starting to eat it, and in the district, we were told that this is the favorite program of the district for the communities, and that's due to Agostinho. It is a microcredit scheme, but they get their loan in livestock. More than 50% have already paid back their loans, and we believe, we've got it in 3 villages, that in the 3rd generation of this program, we'll be able to just let it have a life of its own, and that's important. We won't need to be there forever. We also have the Beehive fence program, and people still ask me, why do you have elephant beehive fences when you're working on lions? We have these fences because it's about food security, and it's about providing an income, an alternative income for people. It's also about respect, because when we went into Niassa, we did a whole lot of questionnaire surveys and said, what do you need? And they said, we need food security, and we need to stop elephants coming into our fields and destroying our livelihoods in the wet season. And one of the things that is very important is to show respect. And when people ask you for something, you find a way for conservation to provide that. We have got more than 6 fences up. People have been selling honey. In fact, we can't meet the demand. We have markets in Pemba and in Lashinga, and every jar of honey that we sell is more than the daily wage for a person there. We have more than 40 people that are now involved in this program, and we have calls for another 20 people are asking for hives. In fact, one of our problems at the moment is we can't produce the hives fast enough. We have trained 3 carpenters, and we will be training more to be able to set up a micro-industry to produce the hives. And all these things they just roll on, and more people get work, and it's all ends up helping. So this is some of the honey that we produce. Many people who I give it to as gifts say they've never tasted such great honey. And it's got no labels as organic but it really is. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's as organic as you're going to get. There are no pesticides within like 150, wherever, many kilometers. And so we're very excited about that program. And in 2012, in 2009, Keith and I almost left the reserve. Things were going very badly. We were overwhelmed by the challenges, and we just didn't know whether we could make a difference. And so we were sitting in the river one evening, and we were trying to make a decision: do we leave or do we stay? And we decided that if we were going to stay, then we needed to make a commitment for the rest of our lives. And so we tendered for a concession in the reserve, which was quite a controversial thing for us to do. There are these concessions that are set up for ecotourism or sport hunting, and the one that we'd been using for our intensive study area had never been taken. So we tendered for the concession, we went through this transparent process and actually won it. And so now We are responsible for 580 square kilometers of Niassa, and we have the community as our legal partners, and we are working to prove that this is the way that it works, because people don't believe you unless you do it. And so we are going to prove that it works, and then hopefully it will be scaled up across Niassa. I give you an annual report every year, and perhaps what you don't realize is we give exactly the same annual report but in a different format to the communities with which we work. So every June and July we go into the communities and we present exactly what we have been doing and how the money has been spent. We have our responsibilities, they have theirs. The communities with which we work receive a community conservation fund for honoring a land use line, and then they get performance payments. So for every month that an elephant isn't killed, they get $300. And for every time an elephant is killed, we take off $250. And we've worked out a whole scheme of performance payments so that we can incentivize people to see a benefit in wildlife. And this has been extraordinarily successful, and we're hoping to scale it up. The first year with the Community Conservation Fund, and many will remember, or first 2 years, the community decided to build a mosque. Now that's not what I would have built. I would have put a water pumps in or fixed a school. But the whole point is it's not my decision. It's the decision of the community, and you need to let them make the decisions for themselves. Last year, they decided to buy a poly-wire electric fence to protect some of their fields from elephants. And this is how you build these conservation relationships. Also in 2012, we decided to start building an environmental center, and I know many of you have been with us along this journey. This is what the elders looked like when we started. They were very dubious about this. So this whole process, you can see that they're looking at the plans. They think we're completely mad. I think until we opened this year, they thought that we really was an ecotourism lodge. And only now that we've had all the children coming in and adults coming in have they realized that this was really built for them. And so we started to build. And we built slowly, teaching everybody all the skills. And over the last 3 years, it has slowly but surely come together. We can now host 22 people. It's all built from local materials. It's all built from local skills. But what you might ask is so special about some buildings? Well, there are a couple of things. The first is that it was built as a skills training course in construction. So 40 men from the villages have gone from having absolutely no skill in construction to being certified in masonry, carpentry, plumbing, thatching, and these men can now go out and get another job. This building, which is our rapid response, it's built in the back of our hangar for our airplane, is a rapid response building for our scouts. We always have one group of scouts that can go quickly to respond to any crises. It was built by a man who was an elephant poacher, a major elephant poacher, who had no skills other than elephant poaching. Over the past 3 years, he has been with us and has become an expert builder. He has now built this on contract. He hires his people, he has his tools, and he does it himself. We have now given him an alternative livelihood. Just one person, but it takes one person at a time. We can now show films to everybody instead of putting a sheet up on the side of the building, and I know some of you visited us when we were still doing that. We can have 150 people in a room and show them a conservation film and talk about it. We had a training session for our wildlife guardians, and I was standing there with the warden of the reserve. This program is managed in collaboration with the reserve, and every person was introducing themselves, saying, I'm from Intimbu, and I'm from Lishengwe, and I'm from Akula. And as they went round, I started to get that feeling that there was something very special going on. And in that room was a representative from all 42 villages in the reserve, all local people, all together in one place, and all discussing conservation. That's what we can do at the Environmental Center. We can bring people together, local people, to do conservation. And they have great ideas. So they have great ideas. So we had one man who stood up and said, well, why don't we make a new fish trap that doesn't catch juvenile fish? We had the director of the Department of Agriculture from one of the districts, the whole district in the area, who was making decisions about problem animals, but had never seen an elephant. The environmental center is in a place where there are always elephants. And when he said thank you at the end of the course, he said, "You've changed my life because now I've seen elephants. Now I can make these decisions." You build empathy because people can have a relationship with the animals which they are meant to manage. Just recently, we had the governor of the province come and visit us along with all his security. We had 150 people. It was rather overwhelming for us. But we were able to show him how the carpenters make beehives. We were able to show him the Beehive program. We were able to show him our elephant memorial, which looks at all the elephants that have died in the area which we manage, more than 74 elephants. It is very hard to tell people what poaching looks like when they never see a dead elephant. The memorial, the elephant memorial, has probably been the most significant thing that we have at the Environmental Education Center, because everybody can see what the crisis looks like. Niassa has lost 7,000 elephants in the last 3 years. 7,000 elephants. And I'm hoping that this memorial reminds us of what nearly happened, but that we managed to get past it. And of course, we also have all the children coming in. I noticed that the children always come to our stickers, our logos, and try and spot the animals. So we covered the education truck with animals, and they come up to find us. We asked them to find the animal that is no longer in Niassa. We have 15 scholarship children. They come with us every holiday. The scholarship's not just about giving them a secondary school scholarship, it's about mentoring them in conservation so that they can go out and be the ambassadors. This is taken from a video, that's why it's not very good quality. The Lion Scholars made 3 videos to teach younger children about conservation. And this Marcio is interviewing the Legenda River and asking the Legenda River, "How are you doing?" And the Legenda River saying, "Not great. I've got mercury, the fish are all gone." The children went on a birding walk for the first time. They had never looked at birds. And now we were able to give them binoculars. They go out, they find all the birds. We're able to just make people excited. Our benches, which you might have recognized from before, all our benches have animals in the back for this very reason, because the children see the animals and start to draw them and ask about the animals on the benches. And sometimes, as I mentioned to you, all our staff are involved. This is Jomba, the first man who we hired so many years ago. He's our cook now. And we brought the children to our camp. Keith was meant to explain how we radio mark lions, but Jomba our cook decided to tell the children himself. And he said to them, "I am old. You need to respect me. But I respect the managers, Agostino and Bumba and Andrew, because they have got an education and they have things to teach me. So go to school and get your education and then come back and teach about conservation." That's our cook. And he also used to be a bushmeat snarer. So everybody is involved. We now see lions at cultural festivals. We see our ABC Kaplana, which was developed for literacy, becoming a fashion statement. We have seen people wearing this Kaplana about 380 kilometers away in a village way outside the reserve. You're building a conservation culture. The lion population is growing, particularly in our intensive study area. I haven't analyzed all the results yet from our survey. It seems that Niassa is becoming more broken up into areas where there are very few lions and some areas where the lions are doing very well. This little cub was born last year. We have for 3 years, we never saw an elephant near our camp, but the elephants are starting to come back. And while we had lost 25 elephants a year in our intensive study area, the area that we manage with the community, before we started this program, this year we have only lost 1. And I know that's small, but we are making a difference, and it proves that if you involve the communities, you can do this. The game populations, we have camera traps up everywhere. Look at all those babies, lots of baby eland. And then sometimes things happen anecdotal that make you realize that this is working. We had a chief, Shefe Namaluma, who came into our camp and said, "I want to join your program. I want my village to be part of this program." And we are now working with him to extend the area that we manage so it'll be 1,000 square kilometers. Those are the signs that this will work. So I love this quote too. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. We cannot keep doing what we do with conservation and expect to get different results. It's time for a change, and we all have to change. Otherwise, this is probably the last rhino that was ever in Niassa Reserve. This skull was found in the year 2000. Rhinos are now extinct there. And I refuse to let this happen to elephants. I refuse that my daughter will not see elephants, that this is the last look that she will see of elephants. And to do that, we can't concentrate on the species. We have to concentrate on the area, and we have to concentrate on the communities. We have to get everybody to celebrate wilderness and to understand that wilderness is necessary for us to be happy and to be able to live in this world that we live. And then we can enjoy just these quiet moments in wilderness where there aren't some megafauna and elephants and lions, but just enjoy wilderness for what it is. And just want to end with something that I'm so excited about, is that 6 conservationists from 4 projects, Tanzania, Kenya, and Mozambique, we've joined together for an organization called Pride, and we are going to work together, and we are going to make this happen for lions. And this is going to be launched in Houston just this week, and I'm so excited about what the 6 of us can do for lions in Africa. And then we can just let the lion sleep out there, come all the way back to the circle. We don't have to know his name. Just let him go peacefully, and then we will have done our work. And thank you very much for listening to me.